China's magic wand. Everything's being cleaned up.
I was living in downtown Brooklyn on Atlantic Avenue in a little church. My dad, he was the pastor, and my mom, she was the music director. I was just a little 5-year-old little runt running around and sleeping in the pews. And this song, this was the very first song I ever remember hearing in my whole life. And it just so happened that it was my mom's little choir that sang it. That was such a sweet, short moment in time. And then it was as if someone came into the room and turned the light switch off. It was over. The next thing I remember is I was in a car with my mom, and we drove for what seemed like an eternity. I was lost. I was dazed. I was confused. And my dad was gone. We wandered for some time, and we finally settled in the Chicago area, where my mom soon remarried. And I just remember feeling so displaced, like I didn't belong. And that's when I started to gravitate towards the radio, and it really captured my attention. I remember the voices on the radio. Those disc jockeys, they sounded just so warm and friendly. And the music, it moved me. It was WLS Music Radio in Chicago. And it was Jim Kerr, who's on the radio here today. He was one of the disc jockeys back then. I can still hear the jingle in my head. The music sounds best on WLS Chicago. Day after day, I'm more confused. Yet I look for the light through the pouring rain. You know that's a game that I hate to lose, and I'm feeling the strain. Waiting to shame. Oh, give me the beat, boys, and free my soul. I wanna get lost in your rock and roll and drift away. Give me the beat, boys, and free my soul. I wanna get lost in your rock and roll and drift away. Won't you take me away? And do you remember this? A lot of you do, and a lot of you don't. What an iconic moment in time. I was underage when Saturday Night Fever came out, and for better or worse, it was a wave that swept across the country. I was 14, and I snuck myself into the theater, and back then a rated R movie really meant a rated R movie. But it was about New York. And I was drawn to that because it was in my heart, New York. I wanted to be there, and I was stuck in the cornfields of Illinois. That opening scene, the New York skyline, the Brooklyn Bridge, and then there he was, the coolest guy this little 14-year-old ever saw. That walk, the clothes, I had the silk shirt and polyester pants, and I did my best. I did my best. that accent and hair. Hey, don't touch my hair. You know how long it took me to get my hair like this? It took me 15 minutes in the mirror with my blow dryer. Do you mind if I just keep talking like this? Maria, you wanna go to the disco? I wanted to be just like Tony. Walk like him, talk like him, be him. He was New York. I missed New York. I missed my dad. I was 16 years old when I was told about what happened, and without going into detail, all I can really say is that it was scandalous. But I remember just feeling like I just wanted to tell Dad that I loved him. And I couldn't wait to get out of these cornfields in Illinois. Well, I was 10 days out of high school. I had a few bucks in my pocket, and I was back in New York. I felt so alone. But thankfully, there was that song on the radio. You know, when you hear those lyrics and they just speak to a moment in time in your life. One evening, I was feeling filled with fear and anxiety and so much uncertainty about the future. And this song just ministered to me. Carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more. Once I rose above the noise and confusion, just to get a glimpse beyond this illusion. I was soaring ever higher, but I flew too high. Though my eyes could see, I still was a blind man. Though my mind could think, I still was a madman. I hear the voices when I'm dreaming. I can hear them say, carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more. I remember falling fast asleep after that happened. So where are we now? Oh yeah, the 1980s. If you ask me, the golden decade of fashion, music, big hair, and anthem rock. Anyhow, I met this great girl. Her name was Claire. It was literally love at first sight. Truth. We were just kids. At the same time, I was trying to find my way in life when a friend of mine one day suggested that I take the test to become a police officer. And that's exactly what I did. And I remember one day going to work, And I got a notification to go up to Madison Square Garden for the Bon Jovi concert. Yeah. Take it easy. I get up there, and I am bound and determined to get inside that evening, and sure enough, I did. And I found a nice dark corner, because I'm in my full uniform. I took off my hat. I put it over my shield. And then, flying across the air of Madison Square Garden, it's all the same. Only the names have changed every day. It seems we're wasting away. Another place where the faces are so cold. I drive all night just to get back home. I'm a cowboy on a steel horse I ride. I'm wanted, dead or alive. Wanted, dead or alive. I walk these streets, I know the six string on my back. I play for keeps, 'cause I might not make it back. I've been everywhere, I'm standing tall. I've seen a million faces, and I've rocked them all. I'm a cowboy on a steel horse I ride. I'm wanted, dead or alive. I'm a cowboy. I got the night on my side. I want it, dead or All right. Praise the Lord. But I'll tell you what, at that very moment, I wanted to be a rock star. With all of my heart, I wanted to be a rock star. Truth of the matter is I was just this simple guy from Queens who was a cop. My wife, Claire, she was a nurse, and we had a son, Kyle. Another cool thing, though, was my dad. He was back in my life. He had another opportunity to pastor a church right here in Queens. He'd preach, I'd sing. It was like we had recaptured a little bit of what we had lost back there in the late 60s. And then in 1988, he would lose it again. I was devastated. All those feelings, all those emotions, so much more amplified inside of me now that I'm older than when I was a 5-year-old little boy. Add insult to injury, the people in the church, they just didn't treat me the way you'd think people in church should treat you. I was left angry, bitter, and with all my heart, like I wanted to be a rock star, I was mad at the world. All I wanted to do was run, and run I did. Impulsively, I moved my family, and we went to Long Island. I wanted to leave everything in Queens that I knew behind. I didn't want to know anybody or anything. I wanted everybody and anything I knew here to leave me alone for the rest of my life. But as much as I wanted to walk away from everything that I grew up to believe in, there was just this thing. It wouldn't let me go. And every night I say a prayer in the hopes that there's a heaven. And every day I am more confused as the saints turn into sinners. All the heroes and legends I knew as a child have fallen to idols of clay. And I feel this empty place inside, so afraid that I've lost my faith. Show me the way. Show me the way. Take me tonight to the river and wash my illusions away. Show me the way. Every night I say a prayer in the hopes that there's a heaven. I had this deep, desperate need for some kind of answer or answers, for things to make sense. Life is messy. We all know that. For me, though, the mess was, I was surrounded by a family that was in the ministry, pastors and preachers, and it was so hard to reconcile all of this stuff being raised that way. And where I had experienced the supernatural, and yet surrounded by this dysfunction. I have run through the fields only to be with you, only to be with you. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I have spoken with the tongues of angels. I have held the hand of a devil. It was warm in the night, and I was cold as a stone. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I believe in a kingdom come, and all the colors will bleed into one, will bleed into one. But yes, I'm still running. shame, of my shame. You know I believe it, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. So here I was out of Long Island, trying to live a quiet, peaceful life. And I felt like the most miserable human being on the face of the earth. Several years had passed, and one day my wife and I, we ran into some old friends. Their names were Michael and Maria Durso. They were this couple who had this amazing story of transformation in their lives from drugs and heavy-duty partying back in the 70s. And now they were pastoring a church in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. Well, they reached out to my wife and I, and they invited us to this church, and we took them up on their invitation. That's where I joined the choir, and that would be the beginning of a healing process that I was in such desperate need of. Where would I be? You only know. I'm glad you see through eyes of love a hopeless case, an empty place, if not for grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. I once was lost, but now I'm found. A hopeless case, an empty place, if not for grace. Well, I wish that I could tell you that life became a "and they lived happily ever after" story, but it didn't. There were a few more things that were coming my way. See, I was still wrestling with all of this stuff, and now I'm in this process, but it's going to take some time to plow through this process, because I'm very, very, very tainted. Religion just about ate me alive. That house I bought out in Long Island just about ruined me financially, or it did ruin me. My son Kyle was really sick. He'd have 5 major surgeries by the time he was 14. My dad became very ill and was in and out of the hospital constantly until he passed away in 2005. And the icing on the cake? Well, Claire. I'll never forget that night. I was in the hospital room with my son Kyle, and my wife, at 10 o'clock at night, she gets a call from her doctor telling her that her biopsy came back positive for cancer. I didn't get it. things were supposed to be turning around. How much more was I supposed to take? Rain, rain on my face. It hasn't stopped raining for days. My world is a flood. Slowly I become one with the mud.
But if I can't swim after 40 days and my mind is crushed by the crashing waves, lift me up so high that I cannot fall. Lift me up. Lift me up.
When I'm falling,
Lift me up.
I'm weak and I'm dying.
Lift me up.
I need you to hold me,
Lift me up.
and keep me from drowning again. You know, suffering would come and visit me time and time again. I just didn't get it. I know people go suffer. It's part of the human condition. It just felt like a constant downpour. It was just never a break. I was a mess. I was always angry. I was always a little on edge. I remember one day when I was out there in Long Island, I punched holes in the walls with my fists, just filled with rage. That was always my usual reaction to pain and suffering. But I remember one night, I came here to a prayer meeting. It was a Tuesday night in 2008, January. I was sitting over here in this section. And that night, someone would call out, and it felt like it was right to me. They said, embrace the suffering, and you will cross the finish line in victory. I just remember having like a moment of aha. It was like a light bulb went on. Embrace the suffering. Who knew? I didn't. But it became so real to me. It was quite fascinating. I remember my wife, Claire, she turned to me and I turned to her, and we were like, wow, that was for us. You see, Claire's cancer, it had gone to her brain. They put a shunt in her brain so that they could administer chemotherapy straight into the brain. Things looked really, really bleak. But I remember this one interesting night. At about 5 a.m. in the morning, I'm sound asleep, and all of a sudden, my radio comes on. And this is the song I heard playing on the radio, blasting through the speakers. The funny thing was, I didn't know how it came on. I didn't set it. And it blew me away. I was sure by now, God, you would have reached down and wiped our tears away, stepped in and saved the day. But once again, I say amen, and it's still raining. And as the thunder rolls, I barely hear you whisper through the rain, I'm with you. As your mercy falls, I raise my hands and praise the God who gives, takes away. praise you in the storm, and I will lift my hands. 'Cause you are who you are. No matter where I am, every tear I cry, you hold in your hand. Never left my side, though my heart is sore. I will praise you in the storm. Claire would fight for her life for 7 long years. Gosh, did she fight? She would fight. She would go to chemotherapy and get stuck with needles and just take it like, not like a man would. She took it like as strong as, wow, it was incredible. We fought together. We pray. We cry out to God. God is sovereign. Totally. If he wants somebody, he's going to take them. So I told him, listen, please, if you're going to take her, show me something. He did. Laying at her bedside the night that she would ultimately pass away, she was clothed in diamonds. It was the most incredible moment. Let me tell you something. There's more to it than this. We all want to live by our feelings and what we can touch and feel and see and hold on to. If we would all listen, we could all hear that voice that speaks. If we'd all get quiet, there's another voice that speaks. It's a heavenly voice, and it's alive and it's real. You know, God allowed me to go through some pretty intense, crazy stuff. It was a roller coaster ride for almost 50 years now. I'm sure many of you have gone through some pretty crazy, heavy-duty stuff. Truth was, I just didn't feel like God loved me. Truth was, I didn't want God to love me. All this hurt and pain, how could I want that? I didn't want it. Thing was, I knew he was alive. I knew he was real. Just wrestling with all of these feelings. I know it may sound odd, but it took losing the 2 closest people to me in the whole world, my dad and my wife, to finally see how much he loved me. And he is jealous for me. Love's like a hurricane. I am a tree bending beneath the weight of his wind and mercy. When all of a sudden I am unaware of these afflictions eclipsed by glory, and I realize just how beautiful you are and how great your affections for me. And oh, how he loves us all. Oh, how he loves us, how he loves us all. I was told a very, very, very long time ago, somewhere around 1982, man I respected came up to me and said, Tim, the Lord's gonna restore the years the locusts have eaten. And back then I was about 18 years old, and I said, yeah, I'm ready for that right now. Yeah, let's do it, I'm ready. And I thought for sure. "30 years. 30 years, 30 some odd years of just carrying stuff, weighted down by stuff. But you know, it happened. He's restored what the years the locusts have eaten. He has. He's done it. He's given me the most talented, beautiful, special wife, Sue. Say hi at least. I have a great son, Kyle. But all of that is great and wonderful and good, but the greatest, okay? The greatest thing, and this world hates this. They hate him. I don't know why. Because his love is so incredible. This love that he shed out upon us is so rich. This love is just so encompassing, and he draws us to himself, and he embraces us, and he carries us. Come on, world. Open up your heart to Jesus and let him come in. Let him come in. Let him come and sweep away all the pain and all the hurt. Will it happen overnight? I don't know. It could. Will it take 30 years? I don't know. It could. But let him come in. Come on, let's all stand and sing. Redemption by the grace in his eyes. Heaven's grace.